So, this is not Digital Foundry. You won't see me zooming in 800% to count pixels on Sam Porter's backpack. What you will see is what actually matters, how Death Stranding 2 feels to play on a PS5 Pro compared to the regular PS5. From a normal sofa at a normal distance, the way real people actually play games. No microscope, just science. Basic science, like, does it look better to my eyeballs? Does it look better? Does it feel better? Is it smoother? And which mode is actually worth your time? Right, so this is the opening gameplay scene of Death Stranding 2. The game does default into 30 frames a second quality mode. I'll be taking a look at the performance mode in a minute and see how it compares to this, as well as how the modes in this compare to the base PS5 version. Now, what I'm looking for here is basic clarity of graphics, the sharpness, the draw distance, things like that. We have got a very barren, rocky landscape here, so not too much to go on, but it is very, very detailed. So by swapping to performance mode, we can compare. So let's have a quick look at that now. I do actually prefer performance mode overall. I've got to admit, I do love that smoothness of the 60 frames a second. To me, that is an absolute game changer in these kind of games. Absolutely love it. There are people out there that say they can't tell the difference between 30 frames a second and 60 frames, but if you're that person, well, then maybe go 30 frames, because maybe the difference is there more obviously in different scenes. But for this scene, I am not seeing any difference at all in the actual visuals regarding the rocks, the detail, the sharpness, the draw distance, things like that. You can see it's very obvious if you're one of the people that can see the difference between 30 frames and 60 frames like I can. But regarding actual sharpness, draw distance, clarity, things like that, if I went out of the room and came back in now and looked at this still scene, I would not be able to tell you if it was in quality mode or performance mode. And for me, that's the difference. You should be able to see the difference clearly. For me, for it to be worth it, I've got to be able to go out of the room and a blind test and come back in and say, yep, that is definitely performance mode, or yep, that is a quality mode. And for me, if there's a difference there, it is super, super subtle. I mean, a tiny increase in sharpness. So let's have a little wander around, see how it reacts when we move a little bit. Let's have a little wander downhill, try not to fall over. I mean, the 30 frames a second isn't too bad in this game. It's not a super fast moving game, so a lot of people may actually enjoy this in this mode, but for me, I just prefer it in 60 frames a second mode. I mean, this is alright. It's quite cinematic. I'm not noticing the drudgeriness too much. But let's take a look around again now. We've got a slightly different scene. And we can zoom in a bit. Let's cut back now to performance mode again. Yeah, maybe the image is a tiny bit softer. Obviously on a YouTube video it's going to be harder to notice because of the way that YouTube does compress videos. But in the real world, watching it like this, yeah, maybe it's just a little tiny, it's subtle. Subtle is the best word I can use to describe it. And for me, I would swap that subtle for that smoothness any old day of the week. Really good. Can you make it down there without falling over? I think he might be alright. But yeah, only just. Hey, come on, son. Get a grip. Right, so we have some water in the form of rain and a little running stream down below. So let's go and have a little look down there. This is in quality mode at the moment. Let's have a little wander down here, see if there's any better visual effects in quality mode over performance mode. Okay, get out of there, son. Get out of there, son. You didn't like that. Right, so let's have a little look around. You can still see it's 30 frames a second when you move around, but for this type of game, it does add quite a cinematic kind of feel to it, I suppose. I just prefer the immersion of 60 frames a second myself. But yeah, let's now switch to performance mode. I mean, the movement is apparent absolutely immediately. Then it's quite a busy scene here with a lot of rain and the running stream. The stream does look a bit more foamy to me, like not quite as clear as it did a moment ago. I'm imagining that. Let's switch back again. The point of this is, though, if you're not completely certain of things like this, then it probably is better the other way around. Or the difference isn't big enough to worry about. And if I looked at that without moving, would I be able to tell? It's the language, Timothy. Okay, so we're still in a quality mode. Now, one area of the game where you can see a difference between quality mode and performance mode is in scenes like this, where we've got some water effects and there's some shadows and reflections on the ground just ahead of Sam on the floor, and you can see there's some nice shadows and reflections, and they're kind of stretching the rocks as I move up and down slightly, and you can see those reflections and shimmery effects there. If I change to performance mode, the effect isn't quite as good. It's still there. It's just not quite as good as it was before. But when I say quite as good, I mean by just a tiny bit. It's just a little bit more murkier. It's got a little bit more clarity the other way around. But when playing the game, would you stop and look at that? Would you even notice that when playing normally? I'm doing this to try and see the differences. If you're playing normally, that is not something which is going to be like a thing for you to be like the game changer of quality mode over performance mode. In fact, now I've changed back again. Yeah, the difference is there, but it is pretty subtle, to be fair. So overall on the PS5 Pro, there's not a huge visual difference between both modes, so therefore I'd rather be playing in performance mode. But on the PS5 it's a different case. The base PS5, there is a more visual difference between both quality modes. It's just definitely a little bit better in quality mode, but PS5 Pro is kind of much of a muchness. It's just so subtle. I think I'd rather be playing the performance mode. So just another quick comparison here in an area which would be good for detail. These reeds of grass here, whatever it is, like pretty sharp in this quality mode. This is the quality mode where we've got 30 frames a second. Let's leave it in the same place and switch over to performance mode. I've got the ring terminal thing activated here, so we'll have to go through an extra set of inputs to get to performance mode. And back out again. And yeah, again, it's going to be hard to notice on a YouTube video, even harder than it is to notice looking at it in real life, but it's a tad softer, I would say, in this mode. But I absolutely love that extra smoothness, and when you're playing it, I don't think generally you're going to notice that extra little bit of sharpness. Let's switch it back while we're in that close-up of the grass bit there. And let's go back again. Go to prioritize quality. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'd notice in a blind test if I would actually see that or not, or notice that it was actually better, sharper, clearer, or whatever in quality to performance mode on the PS5 Pro. It is that close. So for me, on the PS5 Pro, I would say just the way to play it for me is the performance mode, because the difference is so small. I'm just missing out on that lovely smoothness all the time, and this 30 frames a second mode is just not really for me. I'll show you a different type of watery scene now on the PS5 Pro. This is still quality mode, so 30 frames a second at the cost of that 60 frames we get from performance mode. But I just want to speak ever so quickly before we change over to performance mode about how this compares to the base PS5 version. Now, for a lot of people watching this video, you're going to look at it and think the difference between performance mode and quality mode is so small, I may as well play it in performance mode, which is exactly what I'm going to do. But it's not quite the same on the base PS5. I have got a couple of base PS5s as well, and I've played it on that. And I have to say the difference between quality mode and performance mode on that base console is more noticeable than it is on the PS5 Pro. What I would say is the performance mode on PS5 Pro is at least as good as what you get in quality mode on the PS5. So PS5 base, you get 30 frames a second. PS5 Pro, you get the same kind of quality as base PS5 quality mode, but you can do that in performance mode, which is for me a really good thing. So let's now switch over to the performance mode on this and see if we can see the difference in that water. See if it looks better, worse, indifferent. And switching back to that straight away. If I went out of the room, come back in again, I'll keep on saying it, but I'm not sure I'd be able to tell the difference. And this is stopping trying to look for it, remember, like Digital Foundry-style. I'm not going to zoom in 800% on a blade of grass there and say, look, we can see 4 more pixels on that shadow detail on that one blade of grass there, therefore it's miles better in this mode. I don't do that. This is realistic comparisons from a normal viewing distance on a decent display. If you've got a PS5 Pro, I would absolutely suggest playing it on the performance mode, but it is a kind of each to their own thing. It's just out there to show people the difference between each mode. But if you've got a base PS5 and you're thinking about getting a PS5 Pro or upgrading or adding it to your console collection, whatever, then yeah, it's another noticeable upgrade. Like you're getting the quality performance of the base PS5, but in performance mode on the PS5 Pro, which means you basically get best of both worlds, which for me is what the idea is of the PS5 Pro. You get the quality mode of what was a base PS5, but with the performance mode of 60 frames a second, which I absolutely love. So there's a video. If you enjoyed it, found it useful or helpful, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. And what on earth is going on over here? This game is actually really, really intriguing, but I'm going to stop it there because I do not want to activate any spoilers for people. But yeah, this is it's a lot of dust. I want to know what that is all about. But there's a video. Thanks for watching and bye for now.